Did you hear that on your end, Fiery?
No, I didn't.
Alright. It was the original Guilty Gear X version of Johnny's theme. And oh boy, those midis are really freaking bad. Hello and welcome to another Pichy and Palscast. Here I am once again joined by Fire Rider. I wanted to have a big mob of people, but unfortunately all our timetables kept not syncing up. And since we are discussing Southern Cross Championships after the game, I just want to get it out of the way. So, hello, how are you going, Fiery? How was your trip to Adelaide?
Adelaide. Oh man, that was just as usual. Adelaide is a fantastic place. I would come again. I love Adelaide. It's so nice and quiet. So easy to get around. Like I haven't been to Adelaide since 2014. So that would have been 3 years ago.
Yep.
I believe 2014 was the release of Exiled, right?
Yes, that's when we held the launch tournament where Ned Joe went and threw all my gold bursts.
Yeah, that's the one. That was the one I went to. So I have a pretty couple of good stories about getting to Adelaide. But the short version is I'm never flying Tiger Air again.
Yeah, so you managed to get your luggage back from Tiger, didn't you?
No, I never lost it.
Good.
I was just worried I lost it because we got delayed, and then we had to run to the other side of the terminal to catch the plane.
And then Awaken Being lost his luggage.
Yes, Awaken Being lost his luggage. Thankfully, the only thing that was in his luggage was his clothes.
Okay, that's a bit of a relief. Has he actually found it yet?
Oh, yeah. They just left it at the airport, and he got on his way back.
Excellent. So, Southern Cross Championship 2017. Before we talk about the event, this is going to be basically my post-mortem, as far as organising stuff goes. As a bit of preface leading into this event, I have had a really, really bad year, both financially and health-wise. And leading into this event, I was feeling pretty much done. I just needed some time away from fighting games. But as over the course of the event, I was feeling really invigorated and glad to be doing things, and will probably be the muggins behind half the stuff for Anime at SXC next year. That said, I still think that this event kind of marks the end of an era, since the start of next year will be opening up with the first ever EVO Japan, Dragon Ball FighterZ will then be coming out later that month, and it is entirely possible that all the games we ran this year won't be the main games played by this time next year.
I agree, and I feel like this also marks not just a change in games, but a change in shift in the community. Because we're seeing, let's just say, we'll just put it, the downfall of Capcom and the rise of anime. And I think that's just a really important point to address, is that Guilty Gear is actually just starting to be really big just across Australia, instead of just having BlazBlue just be some niche title.
Yes, we're maintaining fairly consistent attendance. I'm seeing the same people rocking up. We're seeing some people starting to come out of the woodwork to learn the game. But the level of play, I've got to say, is getting really, really good in Australia. And it's always going to be tricky because we don't have that international exposure. And it is so hard to get matches with those people. But we are definitely, even just training amongst ourselves, able to get to a half-decent level now. Overall, and I'll talk about this a bit more. Actually, yeah, I'll just talk about it when we get to Guilty Gear, but it's a pretty darn exciting time to be an anime player, or just even paying attention to the community at this point. So then, I love the audio delay when running Discord and a stream at the same time. It's great, I've heard other podcasts have the same problem. So I'll just start off before we talk about the games themselves. I like to write up a post-mortem each year, but since I'm doing a podcast, I'm just going to talk about it. So I'll start off a bit negative and talk about the things that went wrong. First thing is, Teams was a blow-up yet again, and for pretty much the same reasons it always is. I'm running around like a madman, I'm tired, people get in at awkward times, we run enough games that in order to schedule the right time for a specific Teams event, it needs to be on the Friday, and basically not enough people are really enthused. Plus, when we had some wibbly-wobbly numbers, we couldn't really do a state event, so Teams was a blow-up. I was asked to make it an offer for it, and I don't think I'll be bothering to do so in the future. Just other events can focus on Teams, and believe me, I have thoughts on the role of Teams events in fighting games. But as far as SXC and the way that it currently works, there's better things that I could be focusing on. Any comments there, Fiery?
Especially in the case of anime, with there being so many games, there's literally no downtime, especially because so many players have, or pretty much cross-enter tournaments.
Yes.
And I'm just inclined to, I can't find any time at OHN to run any sort of teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I hate to say it, there's just no time.
Yep. So long as we keep running a variety of games, then we're not going to really be able to maintain teams without some restructuring of how we do events. Next thing that went wrong. The internet was freaking terrible. It was fine for the mainstream for the most part. And for Smash, Kai didn't really start getting frame drops until the Sunday, but probably because they just happened to be connected first. The internet, and as always at Adelaide Uni, but given wireless internet, usually you'll get some drops just because it's wireless and that happens, but no, this was just crapping out all the time. I was getting a bit tetchy with people on the stream because every single person was telling me to adjust the bitrate and do all the things that you normally do to adjust a stream, but it wasn't that there was a pipe size problem. It was just constantly the pipe was getting clogged. Fortunately, we did do hard recording, but unfortunately, as you've noticed if you've seen the VODs, and I should actually dig up the playlist while I'm here, a lot of the VODs have really, really out of sync game audio. The commentary audio is perfectly synced to what's happening in the visuals, but the game audio hasn't. This is a problem I've had for a million years, and I don't really know why. I need to do more research on it, and I'm at a point where I want to take more pride in my stream quality, and so I really need to get this fixed. If you look at things like my AVCon footage, it's the same problem there as well. Here we go. Here is the stream link for those in the chat, if there is anyone there. There's just a Kieran doing wacky jokes. Cool.
I think my saddest part about the internet was that my 4G wireless modem didn't save the day.
Yes, you brought a 4G modem, and that was super appreciated, but it was clearly just the nature of where we were in the uni, that there was just a ton of wireless interference. The other thing that happened was there was a power failure. Now, I'd just been using the default for recording of encoding in MPEG-4 for ages for my hard copies, which was a very bad decision, because you have to actually completely finish recording something to complete it. Whereas if you're encoding in something like Matroska, then if you, say, have an interruption or a crash or something, all the footage that's happened so far will already be encoded and recorded. So, since I was in MPEG-4 to begin with, we had a power failure a couple of hours into the event on the Saturday, due to some NetherRealms guys firing up their stream PC and overloading a circuit, and so we lost a lot of the Unist footage. It's probably not too big of a loss, because the best player I think there's no doubt in saying that Kyokugan is by far the best player in Unist at this point, followed by Nerk. So it was basically, if you saw a Nerk match, you saw some stuff.
Personally, I'd be contentious about that, but we can talk about that later.
We can talk about that when we get to Unist, yes. So, next thing that went wrong for me is team structure. Previous years, I've been able to do a fairly willy-wobbly setup where I just run around like a madman and fill in the blanks and try and get people to plug holes for me when I can't do stuff. Last year it worked pretty darn well because I didn't enter much. This year I actually wanted to enter things, so that meant there was a lot of time when I was away from the stream setup and the commentary. So there were periods of dead air, periods where audio settings were wrong, all sorts of messy things like that, which led to a worse final broadcast product. I'd like to be focusing more on broadcast in the next year, so I'm going to have to actually set up a proper structure where there is a dedicated broadcaster, dedicated commentators, dedicated person calling the bracket. And we're at a point where we've got the technology and the equipment where it should be quite easy to do. I just need to do it.
Personally, I didn't feel it was too bad. We had people jumping on commentary when they could, and have some guys hopping in and off. So people like Kevin and Kieran were stepping up to the plate and actually trying to get things running. But I just feel like it was nearly there. Yeah, it wasn't as awful as it could have been.
Oh, it wasn't terrible, but it's something that I take pride in, and know I can do better. So I'm just listing the things that I can improve on here. Next thing is more of a general comment, is I was not given a list of sponsors and which ones to prioritize in plugs. So I basically did no plugs throughout my stream. And when we were commentating Guilty Gear, there were periods of dead air between matches where I actually wanted to do proper plugs, but I didn't have a list and I didn't have the priorities, so you don't need a super elaborate script, but you do need some bullet points to be able to list to do good by the people who have helped fund the event. There is a professional way of presenting such sponsorship that I wasn't able to do, so this is a brief call out, I guess. And then finally, the other big bugbear in the room was the Guilty Gear Finals bracket. So, this was my first time using Smash.gg. It was mandated from above, and it's a pretty good system. There are a bunch of settings which I was still trying to work out how to use pretty late into the game, and at one point I happened to bump a setting to adjust the way that it would set up the top 8. Now, how Smash.gg does it by default is that the people who qualify out of pools for the finals will have essentially the matchups they would have had if it were a single bracket. So what this wound up... Now, there's all sorts of logic that you can use in how you construct your finals brackets. If you want to promote the best possible matchups, or you want to favour certain people, or do things that'll get more eyeballs on your attention, there is perfectly justifiable arguments for that. And there's also arguments in favour of just, here is the way the bracket was initially constructed, you must follow it through to completion that way. So, I had it in a wibbly-wobbly way, and then on Saturday night, I worked out what I'd done wrong, and I reverted it to the same default settings which every other tournament at the event used. And I didn't tell anyone, because I thought this is something that would just go through and people would understand. Naturally, people didn't understand, and I apologised to certain agreed parties beforehand, after the event rather. And I will again apologise, this was a big flub on my part for not clearly communicating to everyone. I'm just maintaining parity with the rest of the event. And so it looked like that I was screwing over Ando, because Ando wound up having to fight his bugbear in tournaments, which is of course Chunicha. And so it meant that Ando had a worse chance of getting 4th, which would have meant that he would have gotten some money. So, I've already apologised to them beforehand. I will again apologise. Sorry, I should have communicated things to you more clearly. We can argue till the cows come home about specifics of the seeding. The logic that I used in the seeding for Guilty Gear this time was a bit different to previous years, where previously I'd factored in all the events. This year, I put heavier weighting on Rev 2 results, which mostly meant OHN results, which did mean that some of the Queenslanders suffered who weren't there, but the fact is that the number 2 seed got put into losers during pools and still came through losers bracket and won the tournament. So, you can do everything you can to seed things to get the smoothest possible bracket, but tournaments are a messy thing, where all sorts of weird upsets can happen. I could talk for a long time about the value of tournaments in comparison to specifically booked matches, and of course round-robin tournaments. Tournaments in general are not a particularly good way of determining who is the actual greatest player, but they're good at determining who can deal with a lot of crap. Who is the best at just handling quick, fast and furious, weird things happening. They promote upsets, and this is why you see things like, say, soccer in England, where there is a very heavy... where unlike, say, a lot of Australian ball sports, where there's a lot... where basically the minor rounds and the ladder is used to determine your seeding for the tournament finals, in soccer, you have the FA Cup, which is just the random as hell knockout competition, and you have the league, and those are both considered very, very important to win in their own right. So, yes. Communication, I screwed up. Very, very sorry, guys. I will do better next time.
So I feel like tournaments, well, we actually had our fair share of one of the downsides of tournaments, where you seed someone, and then someone just comes in and upsets. The upsets happen in tournaments, and that's what makes tournaments great.
Well, it's how you create new heroes. Or just have good stories which allow you to make the event memorable. So, what went well? Things went pretty much to schedule. Even though we had power problems, I'm pretty darn happy with how I got things to run to time. BlazBlue started late, but still pretty much finished on time because I ran it quick. We could probably attribute this to numbers being a bit smaller than they have been in the past, but hey, South Australia is not Sydney. The numbers are always going to be smaller than a Melbourne or Sydney event. Thank you once again to everyone who came. The event literally would not be possible if you guys didn't come out each time. What else went well? Capcom vs SNK 2 was not run at Southern Cross Championship 2017. Now, that may seem like a fairly easy thing to say because Capcom vs SNK 2 has never been run at Southern Cross Championship. The difference is this year it was not advertised as being run. I said, I will do Vampire Savior in that slot, and I ran Vampire Savior, and it happened, and I won. Yay. The bump in and bump out was also a lot quicker than it has been the last 2 years, though this did mean that I did a lot of driving around with trailers and a lot of lifting stuff. I will probably not be doing bump-ins again at events because I am in a lot of pain at the moment, and I really can't handle doing it without being dead for another couple of days afterwards. And as a final thing about bump in and bump out, thank you to Steven, good old Speedline Steve. You helped a lot with bump in, and I'm really, really thankful for that. Anything that you'd like to add to anything I've said so far, Fiery?
No, actually, I've only been to SXC. It's my second time going to SXC, but
Yes.
I've enjoyed it so far. Like, really, overall, the event was actually really, really good. I guess one of the things I would have to say is just that the change in venue it wasn't too great.
Yeah, the big advantage. The big advantage to using the Mayo Cafe, which is the bottom floor of Union House at Adelaide Uni, is that it's a lot easier to access toilets and enter and leave the building. The downside is the floor plan isn't as good, the internet was choppier, and hey, the loft is kind of comfy. It's kind of nice to have a niche section of the event that just gets to hang out in the loft all weekend. The airflow was a lot better though, which is very useful because it got pretty warm, and could have been way warmer. Which allows me to segue into my next discussing point. Cleanliness. Now, I hate to have to bring this up, because it should go without saying, but there were some people who had some pretty bad body odor. In particular, Jimmy from South Australia, Wings of Freedom, I'm calling you out, you stink mate, you need to do something about it. Same with Tone Blarone. Crack Addict Lollies, you stink mate, here are the 3 simple steps that you can use, because you live in a culture where strong body odor is not accepted. You will seem like a lesser person because of it. And that may not be true. You may be a lovely person. But the thing is, people will look at you differently if you are consistently smelling. So here are the 3 simple steps that you can follow. The first is every morning. And the key thing here is morning. You shower with soap. It does not need to be any sort of fancy product, just soap. It can be 50-cent soap from Coles. I don't care. You shower with soap, and you put heavy work in your armpits. That gets rid of the smell at the start of every day. The second step is, you bring a clean shirt for each day that you're going to be travelling. I don't care about socks, I don't care about jocks. If you've got closed shoes, socks are not a problem. If you're wearing pants, if you're being sensible, they should not be a problem. Clean shirt every day, though, is very, very useful, because smell can linger around shirts. And the third point, and here is the most important, because this is a product that I swear by so much, that I'm kind of tempted to actually bring it up as a sponsorship option at events, is Mitchum deodorant. This stuff is the best. Some of their labels say they've got 48-hour protection. That's a crock of nonsense. Do not listen to that. Use it every day. If you do, like, I'm a very stinky person if I don't take precautions, but I do, and I use Mitchum, and I do not stink people out. Thank you.
That's some fantastic work there, Pichy.
So shall we actually talk about
Fortunately for me, I smell great. If we go by the Idolmaster law, we'll all understand why, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah, well you've got to protect your wife, man. You gotta be able to represent yourself properly. Present yourself for your wife. So then, Under Night in Birth Super Turbo. Top 3 results. I'll go dig up the bracket while I'm here. Top 3
So where do we
was
start? Super Turbo?
Undenied Inburst Super Turbo. So the top 3 was Nerk, then Awakened Being, then Fiery. I am very annoyed that I lost to that rascally Fire Rider. I played pretty darn sloppy. My Shion was not on point with combos or with... Just my sense of when to push buttons out of things and DPs was really bad all weekend.
Ooh, there's so many things to say about this bracket. I don't know, it was great. I love Under Night as a game. Like, it's just so different to other anime games, and it's just a really refreshing take. It's just so many small niche things to like about it. Yeah, pretty much, okay. I love KOF, and I love Under Night. I don't play KOF, but I'm playing Under Night, which is it. So, about the bracket. I should play KOF. I've actually been starting to play a bit more of 13. I like the feel of it. I just don't like the balance.
Well, it's 13.
So, yeah.
Well, the thing is, every KOF game is busted, and since a lot of KOF is about how you're playing the system rather than the characters, you gotta look at the top tier as being, this is the best way of interacting with the game systems. Also, 13 actually has one of the widest top tiers in any KOF game. Because, there's Karate, Benimaru, and Iori, but there is also Kim, there is also Yuri, there is also Duolon, there is also Chin.
It's a whole rack of, characters right below the top tier, which see constant news. You have characters like Shen.
Yeah, and then you also have freaking Shen.
Both Kyos.
Oh my goodness me, yeah.
Both Kyos, other Iori, and a whole bunch of other characters. But I just like 13 because the game itself, just the feel of everything, the aesthetics, just the hit stop, it just feels perfect.
Everything feels perfect except for that goddamn input buffer, which says, what's that? You were doing a Ranbu Super, you want DP Drive cancelled into EX Reflect that whiffs and you get punished? Hey! I played a lot of 13, mate.
Oh, it's happened far too much for myself as well.
Happens to everyone, man. Now
So back to knockoff. Where do we actually start? I feel one of the things I want to say is that I feel very bad for prods. Because this was right in, I believe it was in the semi-finals, losers, or whatever, the one where it was right before the losers semi-finals, that Prods was playing against you.
Yes, the power failure
Prods was in a very good groove while playing against you.
He certainly was.
So close to winning. And then the power failure happened.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one would have gone his way if we'd seen it through to conclusion. But the power failure happened, we went out, we got lunch, we came back, and I kind of walked all over him in that final game. So that was a pretty sad moment for Prods. But that's not the bracket's fault, that's just weird extraneous circumstances' fault. Basically, I'm saying that if you don't like Prods losing to me, then you need to go beat up Esports Gym's Netherrealms, guys. Mortal Kombat, killing Eunice.
We have to confiscate their pot bonus for this. And I think one of the other players that was very slated to win was Hunter Steven. Especially on Friday, he played the rematch against Nerk and actually won that one game against Nerk to become the official SXC 2016 champion of Unio.
My favourite part of that set was the very start, where Steven hits, I think he did 5C with cancelled into A. Then as Nerk starts to run towards him, you see him do Gordo 5B, while Steven screams, I forgot he doesn't have 4B! That's okay, we finally resolved the issue with Nerk and Steven miscounting how many wins there were last year. So Steven has maintained the correct timeline, he won the game, so good job. But yeah, Steven got bopped by Awakened Being, and then he got bopped by you. So, I don't think Queensland has any Seths, and they definitely...
actually, they have Tree. They have Tree. Tree is actually a Seth main now. And yeah, I played him at AHN. Far stronger. Far stronger than I am.
Of course.
So I was actually fairly surprised that Steven didn't really know the day one Seth shenanigans.
Well, you never know. It could always be that you've seen the high-level ones, but not the basic ones. Especially with Seth, where all the things are so flashy that you can just get away with murder if someone doesn't know what's real and what's fake. And if you just get them scared to check with buttons, then you can do whatever you want. You can just jump around whatever and then do unblockable diving headbutts. The Awakened Being match, though, is a real indicator that Australia, we've got our pockets playing Unist, but we're not playing it enough. We're not net playing it enough. And we aren't training up our local groups enough because AB plays Linne, and he exposed pretty much everyone that he fought. No one remembers how to fight Linne at a time when Linne has a bunch of new gimmicks that you've also got to watch out for. So, still, good job to him. He got to Grand Final. He beat you.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that match. I have so many self-disappointments about that one.
Happens to us all. Anything else that I have here in my Unist notes? Yes, I have the note. The other notes that I have are... I still think that Kyokugen's the best player in the country, and so it's very sad that he couldn't make it to this one.
Yeah.
I have... Let's keep playing even when Dragon Ball FighterZ breaks into our houses and, undercuts the English release. That actually is a really baffling release. Like, I do not understand why Arc System Works is cannibalizing its own user base with that release date. That's not a very... It's not a very good community decision, obviously, and it's also a really baffling business decision. Too soon between
I also
games.
feel like it was actually a huge miscommunication because I believe earlier they announced that, at least for the European market, it would be released in Q4 this year.
Yeah, well, all sorts of things can happen. So, that might just be a logistic issue. And then the final note that I have for Undenied In Birth Exolate ST is that Giggles' taste in Phonon colors is bad, and that's why he wasn't in the tournament. So, Giggles, you gotta level up. Respect the Zettai Ryoki, man.
He doesn't pick that color?
No. He wants no socks. He's insistent that no socks
come on,
is best.
Giggles.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, Giggles.
Typical Jin player. Typical Sin player. Alright, Guilty Gear is next. Let's fire up the Guilty Gear bracket.
I feel like we should talk about Blaze Blue next. And then go straight through to Guilty Gear.
Okay, so Blaze Blue ran all the way through on Saturday. Both games just ran all the way through, no special Sunday finals. Sunday finals was a bit loaded up with time. So we just ran them through to completion and we had a pretty good time, so good stuff. Let's get the Blaze Blue here. We are...
Where to start with Blaze Blue? I think we should start with the obvious. Guilty Gear. Giggles still undisputed champion.
He's by far the best Blaze Blue player in Australia right now. There is no doubt here.
Yeah.
Especially since I saw on the couple of days after, Steve decided that he's done with 9 for the moment. He thinks she's good, it's just not working for him. He wants to play Hazama, and so he ground out a lot of matches with Giggles, and he did not win very many games over the Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, it's just... If anyone can... Giggles is the man to beat. Because Blaze Blue is a game that really plays to Giggles' strengths. Where it's both the right combination of really, really mathematically precise set play. And just enough potential for scramble that he can take control. His Ragnar and his Jin allow him to do that. Just the right amount of disrespect. But also with a ton of mathematical precision that once he gets on top of you, there's not a lot you can do without outthinking him. In a game where he plays a lot.
I feel like in Blaze Blue, it really Giggles has really just exposed Australia for just being exactly how weak they are in Blaze Blue.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like from watching everyone else play in Blaze Blue, that Giggles has that something that makes a good Blaze Blue player, which the rest of Australia is completely lacking.
I can tell you one thing that your state lacks right now, which is in my notes. Barrier option selecting. You guys weren't doing it. I don't know if it's because you have discouraged Prods and AB from doing it just because you're playing Carl, but there are so many situations that I saw and that Giggles definitely saw while he was playing them, that he was just running all over them with things like meaty buttons and meaty throws because no one is barrier OSing. If you don't know what this is, in Blaze Blue, if while blocking you push all 3 of your main attack buttons, A plus B plus C, then if they do a meaty throw, you will throw tech it. If you're blocking, you'll just barrier, which means they're pushed further away, which is very important in a game where things like jabs have such tiny horizontal range. it's a very good OS, and there are ways to blow it up. But in general, it should be your default action, and the conditioning then comes from once you've established that you're doing the OS. But if you haven't established that you're doing that, then Giggles gets to walk all over you absolutely free. And that's what happened to both Prods and AB.
I mean, it's pretty unfortunate, because I just feel like, yeah, we never really established that whole throw game pressure, and especially when you have your top player being a grappler for 3 or 4 years, you kind of forget about
that'll discourage
the
people.
existence of grabs.
And then with Carl, it doesn't really matter.
He just.
Whereas, say, down here it was like me being the gatekeeper throughout CP, which is the game where our current BlazBlue crew really learned the ropes. So it was me gatekeeping people, and I had to play that sort of game. And so everyone learned how to deal with things. I had a very sad BlazBlue bracket. I had to play you, and then I had to play BlazeU. So I got Carl, then I got Arakunade. Poor Bullet. Poor Bullet.
That sounds like a great time. You've experienced BlazBlue as it should be.
I did. I had the true form of BlazBlue, and that's why I don't play BlazBlue very often.
I actually felt like there was quite a bit of upset in this bracket. I was actually expecting Travioli to do well. I personally felt that it was a very strong player, but he just didn't quite pull through this time.
Yep, and he had to fight Giggles, and that's what happens when there just aren't enough tournament results for you to have a better seed. Certainly, we've got more data now from some of the SA guys who pop up sometimes. Then they'll be able to do better in the future at other events.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's also the case of it being such a small tournament with so many stacked players who are just decent in other games as well.
Yeah, essentially, SXC is the EVO Top 32 of Australian majors when it comes to the anime games, because it's pretty much only the elite that are playing there. So if you want to fight with the best, you come to SXC. Any other comments here? Yes, we had the Ruinous Juan match, where Juan got 2-0'd. Juan did pretty well. I mean, he started to run it back through the bracket, and if he hadn't had to fight you, he might have actually gotten a bit further.
Against me? Oh, if he didn't have to fight against me.
Yes. So, Good job to Juan. He's learning stuff. Anything else in here? I think that's about it for stories here. Nurk. Let's see, who did Nurk lose to? Nurk lost to Awakened Being. That makes sense. And then he lost to Ruinous, which also makes sense because my Vulcanheim is freaking awful. That is a bad time matchup. Don't give him the stick. So, Guilty Gear. We already talked about the reset issues. Now, as another comment, a lot of times I was making quips like this is the darkest timeline because Queensland's completely dominated the winners bracket. I've been trying to work out ways to be better at color commentary, and playing to tribal lines is a very easy way to do color. So that's why I've been playing around with that. I am super duper proud that Queensland is at the level. I feel that Queensland is the best state in Guilty Gear right now. They're playing with each other regularly, they have good knowledge, and they get results. They got the characters.
You can't argue with that. They had top 4 winners.
That's right. Complete top 4 winners. And they are the best state. I don't think they have the best player. I think Audacity has definitely proven that he is the best player in Guilty Gear right now. But Queensland is the best state, so if there's ever some sort of event in Queensland again, absolutely worth going there for Guilty Gear, just so you can grind out with all the different players. So I have the second...
What's interesting about Queensland is, I feel like, they're actually, out of all the states, they are the most passionate, also the most passionate. Yes. You would have Cracked Addict Lollies, you had Steven, Adam, all of them all sharing grinding tech.
Yep.
I just feel like out of all the other states, there's not as much interest.
Yeah.
Although we are hearing things from Victoria coming through.
Yeah, well, I mean, for New South Wales, it's because you play Unist and you play BlazBlue. For Victoria, it's because Victoria and SA have a somewhat similar problem where there's enough grouchy old codgers who don't like things about Xrd, and since they have experienced a different form of Guilty Gear, they already have some opinions in place and are less inclined to learn with and deal with certain facets of the game. Though Victoria does have a lot of up-and-comers, and yeah, you've got to come to more stuff, Victoria. It's great when we're all together. And it was very nice to see, while I'm here, that that Tony does play a very different style of Jacko to Jarvie. So we get a variety in the sort of Jackos that we can encounter, and that's really to the game's credit. Guilty Gear is a game where most of the time you can play two different playstyles, even with the one character, and that was a really good demonstration of that. It's not just me talking out my ass to put over the game I like. So here in the second bracket that I've got open right now, we can see that Tony came through beating Audacity to get into the winners. We had Steve smashing Giggles. Now, I love my boy Giggles, and I love the things he does with Sin, but oh boy. Kum Hae-yun really, really put him on blast this tournament.
I didn't see the match, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was the same as the Thursday casuals. Although, I think I told you the story of how Giggles had a big set with Steven on Thursday. He got blown up, went, okay, I've got Forte with me. Forte's a bit of a lab monster. We'll work out answers to all of Kum Hae-yun's Oki. And he did work out some tech, but the first thing that happened was when he fired up the game, he saw this big padlock sitting over Hae-yun and went, oh crap, I have to pay $2.50 to buy the DLC.
Oh, this was an issue at OHN as well, where we wanted to use Forte's PS4 Pro, which didn't have Hae-yun unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we didn't care because no one was going to play Hae-yun.
Well, we've got warning signs about that now. So, there's the other pool. The first pool, where I lost to Forte, and then I lost to Nerk. The classic. Nerk has gatekept me in many, many brackets of many games over the years. And Forte bopped Wick Dude, which made me very happy. As I always say, Wick Dude will catch you if you don't keep things airtight. If you execute your game plans correctly, then you can beat Wick Dude. And Forte did that against Kieran. And then, of course, we have Chunicha and we have Ando coming out on the winner side of the bracket there. Good job to them.
Oh, Wick Dude. I finally understand the legends. I had a rough.
Let's see, did you have to play Wick Dude? No, you didn't have to play
I did. No, I did. It was my first match.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah. Like I say, you do things on point, you're fine. If not, just the Mei scramble will usually go Mei's way. And they did just such high damage reward. It's like there's characters that you learn in games where you might be outplaying your opponent as far as your decision making, but it's just that the opponent has so much better reward for the few stray hits they actually land that you wind up losing. It's like, I was experiencing that a lot when I started learning Boletta earlier in the year in Vampire. Because, like, she needs the knockdowns. Whereas Sasquatch, it's just like, Sasquatch hits you with 2 stand strongs, and that's like triple the damage from 3 Boletta basic combos. Oh man. So then finally we have the top 8. So the other story is, I think I already said that Audacity got put into losers during the pools to Tony. So here we have South Australia getting blown up. Forte making his way through here. And then getting bopped. We have Audacity running a bit of a gauntlet. Would have been interesting to see if Ando had been able to keep his composure, how he would have done against Audacity. Because Faust Johnny is interesting, and Johnny mirrors are also incredibly funny. So who knows what could have happened. But then Audacity...
I would actually... I would have given a huge shout out to Forte there, being the only Victorian and actually beating Nook.
Yep, he beat Nook. Nook hasn't been playing a super amount, but the game is starting to... Xrd specifically, I think, is starting to pass Nook a bit by. And that's why he told me a few weeks ago that he wanted to play Bedman, just because, in his words, he's tired of playing the neutral in Xrd, so he wants to just get in there with Teleport Ball. And Bedman is such a nuisance character, but I like Nurk's playstyle more when he's got both the ability to move around, when Nurk's able to move around a lot, while also having that disrespect potential. That's why his Byakuya is such a nuisance in Unist, because he's able to do the movement game to make the opponent put themselves in a position he wants them to be. But he's also got those really fast whiff punch buttons, and now a reversal, that allow him to have just the right amount of disrespect that he can keep you on guard. And that's why his Soul works so well, that's why his Jam gets a bit of leeway, but his Bedman is a bit too focused on the set play rather than the movement to get there in the first place, and so I like seeing his Jam.
But that's an interesting point, though, because if you feel like you're losing interest, even though there's playing a character that better fits your playstyle, like, you're still going to do worse than playing a character that would actually drive you to improve because you enjoy the game. So he's got to find that sweet spot where he just has to find the right character that fits him and like he'll enjoy playing, which so far just seems to be the Bedman. Mm-hmm. I want to say I really like his Jam, though. I really do like his Jam.
Well, I mean, I don't like fighting it, but I like his Jam. So, of course, the big story here is Audacity proves that he's the best by running it through losers. My favourite part of the grand final is that round where he beats Steven with almost nothing but throws. That was some Virtua Fighter nonsense.
No, I feel like we should talk about his games before the grand finals, where he goes in, he plays against Cracked Addict Lollies, lost to him earlier in Pause.
Yep.
He plays against Tunich, I believe.
Yes, which ties up their set of matches, because
he lost against him at OHN in the grand finals.
And at the BAM money match.
Yeah, so now they're actually 2 for 2 in one money match win and one tournament win each against each other.
That's right, so at Tassie FighterCon or at BAM, we're going to get that rubber match. That'll be good. It's great that we've got fresh matchups now. You know, it's not just like Nurk, sometimes Fairy, Falco, gatekeeping everyone. This is a very different, and like Nurk Ando Giggles, like it was in, say, 2015, and with some Jarvie. Whereas now we're definitely...
I want to say something about that. I want to say something about that. Okay, OHN story time. We're talking on Friday, on the way home, we're discussing the brackets in the car. Mm-hmm. Jarvie is saying, you gave me the easiest top 8 bracket. Now, where did Jarvie place in OHN? He came 9th.
Yes,
out of all the highest seeded players, he was the only one who did not make top 8.
Yep.
So I think...
Let's dig that one up.
Actually, yeah. Who did beat him?
Because I don't think it was Goichi. I think he managed to avoid Goichi. Guilty Gear. God damn it, 08. God damn it, Smash.gg. I tell it I want Guilty Gear and it gives me Tekken. It's a conspiracy, I tell you. Also, shoutouts to
where...
So let's see, where is the Jarvie? Here's the Jarvie. Yes, he got 9th. Jarvie lost to... Let's make sure we got this here. So, Jarvie lost to Giggles to go into losers. And then he lost to Seraph. Oh man, he got sold? Nelia/Jacko got sold? Oh man, Jarvie.
No, this story gets even better. Jarvie was saying that no matter who he played at that point in the bracket, he felt he was very confident. He did not want to play Nurk at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were on opposite sides of the bracket, so that was...
He reckons because he beat Seraph every time at YSB, that there's no problem, he's going to make top 8 by beating Seraph. It's an easy bracket for him.
Nope.
So I just want to say that, like, you can't be an old man anymore. I can't be an old man anymore. Anyone who wants to take the game seriously, Guilty Gear, like, everyone started to improve and everything, so...
Hey man, I'm happy. I am happy to get 12th at every event still. Because I got 12th, and I'm fine to say that I'm just below the real Guilty Gear Xrd players. That is a fine
and I would like to say that I am just below you because both those tournaments, you're the one who has knocked me out of a tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the best. Next game.
Oh, Axel.
Anything else you'd like to say about Guilty Gear? It was a great tournament, and there's still lots of matchups there that we can exhaust. So
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Steve.
Yep.
I want to give a shout out to Steve for repping that cum.
Yes.
Like Steve, he's been very undecided about characters from what I hear.
He doesn't like playing cum.
Yeah, so him actually repping that cum, running it all the way to the grand finals, and just rolling over so many players to get there. Like, congratulations, Steve. You deserved actually at least getting to the grand finals. You might not have won, but cum, you made it, man.
Yeah. We can chalk that up a bit to matchup knowledge, and this is something where just playing more will help. This is, of course, we can always chalk things up to internet's bad in Australia. There's large physical distance. But there are people who are net playing on PC Xrd every single night. There are plenty of opportunities to get that matchup knowledge. And Steven did do some really smart stuff. He's not the biggest fan of cum, but hey, if it's working, it's working. Make the most of it. Enjoy your life. And then finally, we have... I mean, I could mention KOF as well. Actually, I will mention KOF. Let's go dig up the KOF bracket before I talk about Vampire. Just because Baxter was not in Grand Final. There's that KOF. There it is. That's not the button. There's the button. So, A1 Major defeated Baxter. If we look down here, Falco put... Let's see. No, it was Baxter who put A1 into losers, but A1 ran it back, then beat Baxter, and then couldn't beat Falco. Which is the thing that happens. When Falco's in the groove, he's in the groove. There's not much you can do. But it makes me happy to see the oldest of OGs, A1 Major, getting to Grand Final in a game that he likes. 14 is a fun game. You should check it out if you haven't. If you don't want to, understandable, there's like a billion games. So that's about it for here. Who did I lose to? I lost to Dejan. Those were annoying down to the wire games. And I lost to A1, so hey, no shame there. Kind of similar to my results. Actually, Super Turbo, the main thing to mention is that I gatekeep Hugo in pretty much every Super Turbo tournament. Even though Boxer Chun is in Boxer's favour, I usually just do weird things and beat Hugo. He actually climbed that mountain and beat me, and then went on to win the tournament. So, good job to Hugo.
Oh, Hugo won ST?
Yeah, Hugo won ST. He's the best.
Wow.
You know, when I was saying that, I reckon I'll be in Grand Final, I might win ST this year. Nope. I lost to Hugo, and then I lost to A1. I choked on A1. I had the 2-game lead, and then I did dumb things and died. Nerk will be very disappointed in my play. And then we have Vampire Savior. As I said, I just ran this because I wanted to see who would bite, really. Since it's been a while since there's been a Vampire Savior tournament. And a few people bit. A bunch of the SA boys who I know like Vampire entered. We had Dejan as the main contender. And we had Tony as the other contender. And funny enough, those were the top 3. So, main thing here is Tony doesn't really know what to do against people who just neutral jump and jump backwards, which is something that you need to do against B a lot, because if you're on the ground, B can triangle jump. If you're in the air, B's air dash will send her flying upwards and you can swat her. So that's what I did. I just jumped back and hit light kick and medium punch if he was closer, to option select with air throw, and bopped Tony that way. I played a bit more conventionally against Dejan because he was playing Dimitri. And Sasquatch is a character who can actually punish some of Dimitri's DPs on block. Because Sasquatch is a cool dude. Play Vampire.
I don't know much about Vampire. Okay. I've been convinced, and you'll see me at the next event playing Vampire. I'll play Vampire. I'll do it for you.
Okay, let me put it this way. You know Prods?
Yeah.
It's the game where you can become Prods.
Oh my god, I always wanted to be like Prods.
Everyone...
He beat me in Blaze Blue, so I want to be Prods now.
The entire game is be a madman and hit buttons. And it's great. So yeah, I'll probably run more Vampire at side tournaments at things that I go to because people had fun. Maybe not at Tassie FighterCon if I'm able to get to that. Certainly at BAM and OHN I'll be doing it, because I might as well. And some of those events will even have sketch at them, so I can get blown up by a real QB. And finally, Gundam. So, you guys asked me, hey, do we want to do Gundam? I said, yeah, sure, why not? I said, hey boss, we've got some Gundam people that want to do Gundam, can you get me some wired internet and some monitors allocated to a spot? And he said, yeah, sure. And then we didn't get wired internet, and we didn't get an allocated spot. So, Gundam was a bit of a blow-up. The net was a bit of a blow-up. I was glad that you were able to get some games in. But, there just really isn't Gundam going in SA at the moment. And it's not something that I can make my baby, because I was already full up.
I feel like our biggest problem there was we just didn't have a dedicated space.
Yep.
We'll get our mobile internet, so we just get the PSN access, and then we'll bring all our cables, our routers, whatever. But it's just, if we don't have the room to just sit up and set it up, because I feel like if a lot of these niche games, to get people playing, you can't just set them up at a certain time.
Yeah,
you gotta just have it on the whole time.
Yeah. You need it there all day, and you need a community rep who's there to help put the game over and get people interested and explain what's going on.
Yeah, and because it's a very unfamiliar game, like if we didn't have a space, it just wasn't happening. So it's unfortunate it turned out that way, but like me and Forte will keep on trying.
Yep. I think while I'm here that what we should be looking at for Gundam is much like how anime is considered a branch and a region and an area at each tournament. We should be looking at having Gundam be an area, and specifically have it be the robot combat area. So run Gundam there, and run a Senko no Ronde tournament there at every major in that area. And I think it's also worth looking into a certain magical virtual on. Because for all that it has the wacky branding, Sega really looks like they're actually making a legit virtual on 5. And so that should be a thing that we should be investigating, because it's looking pretty fun.
I just want to say one thing. AB, I hope you're watching. No Gacha Force.
Well, if you steal the melee CRTs, then you can run the Gotcha Force. Man, now I've got to dig it up. I've got to dig up the Gotcha Force audio now that you brought it up. No, I am sorry,
to this day, Heath.
I actually had the Gotcha Force packed and ready. I just forgot to put it in my car.
I promised him if he found the game, I have a Wii, I have GameCube controllers. He's still searching, and I'm thankful that he is.
Oh man, he's still searching? Dude, I have a physical copy. I found it in the Game Traders once and went, oh shit, it's Gotcha Force. Oh yes, let's dig up this audio. Here we go.
Oh no.
It's clear how this is going to end.
Can you hear the audio?
It's clear how this is going to end.
I will be able to now.
Alright, let's go again.
It's clear how this is going to end. This is impossible from the point of cultural anthropology. Our force has lost.
Gotcha Force is the best.
This is how it ends.
It's clear how this is going to end. So yeah, get a robot area where we have Gundam, we have Senko no Ronde, and a certain magical virtual on, because why the hell not? Get that going as a goal for this year at Majors. Now that said, I'm super sad that you had to leave exactly when I was finished with Bump Out and was able to play games, because Kevin and I spent like the next 3 hours playing Senko no Ronde while Nerk had Rick and Morty Season 3 playing in the background, so that was certainly an aesthetic for an afternoon.
Senko no Ronde. Every major, I promised one guy that will play Senko no Ronde. Kiso from Victoria. Bam, dodged him. Oh hey Jen, dodged him. Doesn't happen. This year, SXC, I dodged Kevin. Oh, the legend will continue.
Oh no, my stream chat's vanished. There it is. Alrighty, let us dig up the Senko no Ronde. Because I actually have a main now. And it's the mirror lasers. That's what I'm going to be grinding on. That's the one I'm feeling the most comfortable with now.
Henry. The one that shoots the orbs, then the lasers just refract.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I also play him, but I also play a bit of Ulrika, who has the ammunition swapping and shoots the bubbles. So Synchro Ronde, great game.
It is.
It's a shmup that's kind of like a fighting game. Everyone should check it out.
It's 2D Virtual On. It is the exact same mechanics as Virtual On, just with boss mode. And oh boy,
and
the boss
Gundam
mode
is pretty much 3D Synchro Ronde, as we described it to Forte.
Yeah, I mean, we can use all those comparisons, but like, it is way more similar to Virtual On than Gundam in how you do things. But it's really cool, and let's actually start running it from now on. I have copies of the game. There's DLC to download. Have you played the DLC characters?
No, I played on PS4, but I actually owned a DLC on PC.
Yeah, that's how it is for the moment. But man, we should actually netplay on. We should be able to test the netplay. Maybe we should do that once this podcast is finished. Test some netplay Synchro Ronde. But yeah, Temjin is some nonsense. Some real nonsense.
Oh, and Feiyen? Is she?
She's also
they're
pretty
both,
darn good.
They're
Like,
both.
all the DLC characters are very good and are probably going to get nerfed. There have been some balance patches, or at least there has been one since the demo was released. Because Kevin was no longer calling me out in the way that he used to with... What's his face? Fabian? That was some bad times. Friggin' Fabian the Fast Man. Anything else? Alright, raffles. New South Wales won some raffles, I hear.
Yes, okay, so let's start with story time.
Ooh,
I believe the
time.
story started at SXC 2015. Runus won the first set of raffle prizes. I believe it was just a bunch of headsets and stuff. Come SXC 2016, Runus once again wins another prize, the grand prize, the gaming chair. And that brings us down to 2017, where New South Wales, repping Team Gacha Force, we went all in. I believe across all of us, we ended up spending about $250 in raffles, and we walked away with more than half the prizes.
Yep. The other half went to Sketch. I mean, Switch. Switch from Queensland won the other half the prizes. Except for one, who won an Ava Media microphone, which I then bought off him. So, if the audio is sounding different on my end, it's because I have a new, better microphone, and I am working out settings for it. I need better equalization to get the best out of it, but for now, this is what we've got. Anything else you'd like to say about SXC?
Anything I can say about SXC is that I hope it happens again next year, because I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I've talked to that's gone has had a great time, and we're all looking forward to coming back next year.
Alrighty then.
And we shall continue the tradition of going to Brunelli's post SXC.
Yes, so we usually go to Brunelli's on the Sunday night because someone suggests the Pancake Kitchen, and someone like Alex will shut it down saying, no, it sucks. Which is true, and when there's other options open, you might as well go to those. I'm glad we actually made the hike to the Good Viet place on Saturday. That was exactly what I needed at that time. Although some of you backed out and went to Hunger Jungers. Like scrubs. Oh, yeah.
No. We went to Andre's.
Ah.
And that was expensive.
Yep. Should have gone to Tauntaun. $15 fur, and it's really, really good.
Actually, I can't talk about Brunelli's without mentioning that, once again, somebody fell for a trap.
Oh,
It wasn't specifically a trap on the menu, but Hugo, he didn't get his pizza.
Yeah, Hugo and Juan got bodied at Brunelli's this year. They forgot their orders entirely and had to get refunded.
I haven't been to SXC 2014, but I remember when we went to Brunelli's that year, half the people, we had to wait hours to get our food.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, in coordination with the tradition of SXC's technical problems, we also have their food problems. It's tradition.
Yeah, it happens. There's always something. You know, it's an event with lots of personality and humanity. It's a very human event. If you want to experience the land of original sin, come to SXC. Alright, let's get some final shout-outs out the way. Thank you to Fire Rider for coming and bringing Gundam stuff. Thank you to Forte for coming and bringing Gundam stuff. Thank you to Nurk for being a good friend. Thank you to Gary for taking on my role of being a chauffeur and driving lots of people around. Thank you to Jarvi for telling me that the stream was choppy. Thank you to Mercy for telling me that the stream was choppy. Thank you to everyone else who told me that the stream was choppy. I got the message. Thank you to Runus for bringing equipment. Thank you to everyone who I asked to bring equipment. It wound up a bit messy and a bit worrisome for a bit, but we got there in the end. Thanks to everyone who decided to jump onto the microphone for a bit and hold down the fort while I was playing matches. Thank you to Moose King for putting on the event and doing the bulk of the organising. Thank you to Steve once again for helping with the bump-in. Thank you so much to Kevin and Sam for all the support they gave me in calling of brackets and holding down the fort. And for Kevin for all his work in bump-in and bump-out. Thank you to Prods for being an amusing guy and for briefly having a wrestling conversation with me. Part of the problem this year was that all the usual people that I vent about wrestling with weren't there. I miss you, Wang.
So, Wang?
I miss you, Igor.
Just Wang?
No, it's Igor as well. With Igor, I just talk about old WCW stuff. Let's see, is there anyone else that I haven't mentioned? If you haven't been mentioned by me and would like a shout out, speak up right now, or ping me, and I'll give shout outs posthumously in the next stream. I should actually stream more of just playing games, test out the limits of this microphone. That will just about do me then, I think. Thank you very much to everyone who came to SXC. Thanks for listening. Tune in next time when we'll talk about something.
Whoa. I think I'm missing one last thing.
Oh.
Thanks for everyone coming to SXC, and I'll see you all of you at Taz PartyCon.
Ah, yes. Taz.
March 24 to 26.
I was about to say, March 24 to 26 at the... somewhere in Hobart. It's tiny. You can probably just walk around and find it. Yeah. Tassie FighterCon, I will hopefully be going. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again after a while.